Yes, we are here. I'm checking my feed. Let's do it. Let's lock in. Yep. Let's do it. Of course, as you know, if you ever watch any of the lives that we do, most times if we're doing a Facebook Live, we got a couple of screens going. Yep. Tonight's discussion. This is called Pipeline Patterns. Warning signs that a child may be being conditioned to compliance instead of conditioned to purpose. I'm Mr. Cage, training and development specialist for our program Potential, teaching kids to think before they do. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Let's lock in. We have not a whole lot of information to share in conversation, but we do have some. Not some, but some. Let's do it. Let's see who can jump on here. Let me give it a little time. I see a couple people have jumped on. Please announce yourself. Let yourself be known. I got a few announcements to make before we get into the meat of tonight's discussion. I'm ready. It's going down. I'm gonna give a little second to see who's on because we're a little bit behind because of how technology could be. But we're here. Let's do it. Let's get it. Let's lock in. Let me see if I can share this somewhere else. Yeah, I'm gonna go into the reason why this conversation is extremely important. This conversation is probably going to be the most important for your child's future, your family's future, and the future of the generation to come. This is how heavy this conversation is going to be. And it's only going to be at tops of hour, but it's going to be heavy enough that prayerfully it'll result in us reassessing how we approach school and how we approach education. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm gonna share this and I'm gonna share this in a couple of groups. Share this in my Entrepreneurs United family. And that may be the only group that I share this in. Let's see. Eh, I guess I can do, let's see if there's any other groups. Let's do some announcements. First things first, we have coming up May the 4th from 7 to 9 in Hazel Crest, Illinois. 17100 Dixie Highway, Suite 1, or I'm sorry, Suite A, Labuini Shea. Shout out to Entrepreneurs United, my brother and sister, Timothy and Danita Ellison. These are the founders of Entrepreneurs United, a group of entrepreneurs that come together in a collective way, collective and collaborative way to bring change to the community. Shout out to Entrepreneurs United for having us. Our conversation, the title of that conversation will be Disrupting the New School to Prison Pipeline. Part one. It's not what they told us. It is not what they told us. I'm going to be presenting that night. I'm going to give a whole lot of insight, strategy, historical references, methods, ideas, concepts. It's going to be a lot that's going to be said. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put that link in this video. If you can't attend, please contribute to the cause. What I plan on doing is giving 50% of the proceeds back to Entrepreneurs United and the Winnie Shea. Shout out to them for opening up the venue. Those are my people. They family. We always want to give back and have mutually beneficial relationships. The other half will go towards the work because we want to take this, as with anything that we do that's of significance, nationwide, worldwide. So that's the first. Well, I think I hit all three announcements. Oh, I'm going to do an intro of the new School to Prison Pipeline as we go into the content tonight. But I think that's it. So the intro of the venue. Let me put the links in here. Let me put the links in the chat, comment section, whatever you have, whatever have you. So you will see two links underneath this video on the book. One is the direct link to the Score app, Disrupting the New Prison Pipeline. Contribute, register, come on in and join us. The second link that I'm going to send is directly to Divine Works Education and Training website, just in case you want to connect with me for a speaking engagement facilitation. It needs to be updated, but we're going to give you what we have at the moment. Shout out to Tim. He letting the people know that we are live. This is an introduction of the new prisoner pipeline. I'm going to touch on a couple of aspects. Well, the major portion is identifying the warning signs that a child may be in conditioned to compliance instead of being conditioned to purpose. That's a heavy, 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 heavy statement. Very heavy. Yeah, I'm giving a little bit, couple seconds, and then we're gonna go into some stuff. Shout out to everybody that's doing live tonight. I was floating through the Facebook land, and I saw a couple of my people going live. Shout out to you all, whatever message that it is that you carry. The new school to prison pipeline is, for me, being a teacher, training and development specialist, being a facilitator, a person that takes tremendous responsibility in training others to maximize their full potential in relation to career development, entrepreneurship, and life skills. This project is the most challenging because we have to do a tremendous amount of research historically. I have to take everything that I have been educated on, trained on, that I've learned through trial and error from 18 plus years of working with youth, working with over 10,000 kids from K through 12, and also me coming from a top performance center at Joliet Job Corps that was ranked number 3 in the nation out of 125 job corps in 2013. I'm gathering all those teaching moments, all those training moments, all those different experiences from my middle school experience, high school experience, working in the juvenile detention centers, collaborate with not-for-profits, trying to keep cuffs off kids. I'm gathering that entire body of work and portfolio and putting it into one St. Nicholas, or not that word, but I have to put everything that I've embodied over this 18 plus years in one project. It's very, very challenging. It's going to challenge everything that we have been taught consciously and subconsciously about school and education. I need to make this statement as we go into these different slides and conversation. I am not speaking downward towards any teacher, any principal, any superintendent, any paraprofessional, any security guard, any staff that works in any type of academic or educational institution, whether that be kindergarten to college. I'm not speaking downwardly towards any of those individuals. We are addressing the system. We are addressing the system. Many people, and I've seen enough YouTube videos, I've done enough research where I've seen a common thread, and this is what that thread is, y'all. So take some strong notes tonight. It's going to be a note-taking night. I'm probably only going to go for about 30 to 40 minutes tops. If it stretched into an hour, forgive me. We may have went into a flow. But the first note that I will make if I was watching this, and let me say this too before I make the statement, is that you may not have biological kids in kindergarten, preschool, middle school, high school, or college, but you still have cousins, you still have grandchildren, you still have your children that will have children. We are all indoctrinated to an extent from this system. It's applicable to everybody. My responsibility is to pop the lock. Let me rephrase. My responsibility is to give you the keys, the code to pop the lock. As a result, you live the quality of life that you're supposed to live with no self-imposed or man-made restrictions or limitations. First note, the school system is fixed. It is not broken. The school system is fixed. It is not broken. What you will see and what you will hear in various conversations, YouTube videos, you will hear a whole conglomerate of people saying that the school system is broken. It is not, because when a system is created, it's created with people in mind. sometimes what happens is the people that are a part of the system believe that the system is supposed to benefit them. But there are times in reality that it is not. This particular system that we're speaking of was not built with everybody in mind. As a person who's a designer of curriculum, my responsibility is to always think about the end user when I don't want to use the word create when I'm making something because it's just ingredients that is utilized to produce a work. But that's me with the mindset and outcome of liberation. However, others who were associated with the making of the system was not, they were not thinking. And this is my opinion, so let me impose this. And I'm going to talk about that too. I'm going to impose a perspective. I don't believe that those individuals were really thinking about everybody when they created the system. The people that in the system believe that, but when it doesn't benefit them, we say that it's broken, but it's not because it probably wasn't created for you and by you. It probably wasn't created for you to benefit from it. So it is fixed. Fixed means that it is set. There's a limitation. It's supposed to do this. We wanted to do something else. No, it's going to do what it was supposed to do based on the designers of the system. The school system itself is fixed. It's not broken. It was created based on what the designers were wanting to accomplish. So you have to find out what the designers, the makers of that system wanted to accomplish to determine whether it's fixed or broken. So in reality, I'm imposing upon you that it's fixed. It has a set outcome that it was supposed to achieve. Let's go into a brief history of the school to prison pipeline. I'm gonna share my screen with you. I'm gonna talk through this historical timeline word for word. Then I'm gonna introduce the new school to prison pipeline. All right, let's see. I got anybody? Okay. I don't know who watching. That's a good note. That's a good point to that's a good point that was shared with us because we'll get upset based on an outcome that we want. We think it's supposed to produce this, but no, it's supposed to produce whatever the designers wanted it to produce. All right, let me see. I need to do a screen share with you real fast. And make sure that if you get any questions or comments, throw those in the comment section for me. Whether you're watching this on Facebook or whether you're watching this on YouTube. If it gets there, I don't know if it's gonna get there. We're gonna see. Excuse me. All right, for the current slide, let's hit it. Let's hit it. The history. Trying to move my stuff down so I can see what I'm looking at. And okay. All right, here we go. A brief history of the school to prison pipeline. This is the school to prison pipeline that most of us have heard of. We may not have researched it or read about it, but we are aware of this school to prison pipeline historically. Before the 90s, unequal schooling, segregation, unequal funding, racialized discipline, and under-resourced school created the foundation for later exclusion and criminalization. So exclusion means we exclude a group of people, and criminalization, root word criminal, we want to put a label on those individuals. Let me share this too. Just because a person commits a crime male or female, no matter what age they are, does not mean that they are a criminal. I need to stop my share and make this statement. Just because a person, male or female, commits a crime, no matter if that person is age 12, 14, or 40, it does not mean that they are a criminal. They may have criminal tendencies. They may have been victimized and been subjected to criminalization. But as humans, we have we as humans, we think too highly of ourselves. We have the audacity to label a person instead of labeling a behavior. Because when you label a person as a criminal and they believe it, they internalize it. And when they internalize it, they take it in, then they externalize it. Once an idea is internalized by a person, it becomes a part of their belief system. It takes root, and then it produces fruit or outcome. So our responsibility as humans is not to criminalize people or put a label of criminal on them just because they've committed criminal acts. Yeah, that's it. That's a pipeline pattern. A pipeline pattern. Second note, a pipeline pattern is when I place a label on a person based on the behavior that they display. Because when I do, and especially if if I'm in a position of any authority in life, that word is going to carry weight for some people, and they will internalize that, and they'll produce it in their lifestyle. It's another note. I'm gonna reshare my screen. This is how these conversations go, y'all, sometimes. So that was before the 80s. The 1980s, zero tolerance thinking emerges. Disciplinarian, oh, I'm sorry, hold on, let me see, because my screen ain't popped up yet. Okay, I apologize, y'all, because I'm looking at the screen. It was a little bit delayed. Zero tolerance thinking emerges. Disciplinarian ideas influenced by the war on drugs began shaping how schools treated student behavior. This is a very important year or period of time because when did crack cocaine come in the community? Yeah, you gotta do your research. There's a documentary on Netflix. I forgot the name of the documentary. I have to look it up. But it describes and details when crack cocaine was introduced into the country. And it was around that time because I believe Reagan was in office. Even though I was born in 1980, I still remember certain events and experiences, in my early childhood. 1994, Gun-Free School Act. Federal law required states to mandate at least 1 year exposure for bringing a firearm to school, reinforcing harsher discipline policies. Late 90s, 2000s, the pipeline is named. Researchers, educators, and advocates began widely using the term school to prison pipeline to describe how exclusion, criminalization increase the odds that youth of color end up in the justice system. And then today, reform and resistance. Schools and advocates promote restorative practices, supportive discipline, and fairer school climates. Though significant disparities in discipline and justice system involvement still remain, our core pattern is exclusionary discipline policing plus court referral equals increased risk of justice systems involvement. This is a brief history of the old school to prison pipeline. Now I'm going to introduce to you the new school to prison pipeline. Let us see. Yes. So what once, let me stop my share. Yeah. What once was something external is still external, but it looks vastly different, vastly different. But what has transpired is because it's vastly different, it's still manifesting itself externally. It's taken in now. And the result is that the new school to prison pipeline, it results in both a literal incarceration re, reflected in restricted educational opportunities, limited post-secondary options, and diminished lifetime earnings. So the new school to prison pipeline, it can result in a literal incarceration, meaning that a person can't enter into jail or prison in a literal sense. But in another expression of a literal sense, it's reflected in restricted educational opportunities, limited post secondary options, and diminished lifetime earnings because of exposure. We're gonna discuss exposure very, very soon. But I want to share this. I want to give you this image to consider. Because when people hear the word prison, most times if we hear this word, we're gonna immediately our mindset immediately is gonna go to a literal physical prison. But again, before any person ever touched a jail cell or literal physical prison or penitentiary, they first had to be incarcerated in their mindset. When they were incarcerated in their mindset, they produced that result externally. I'm trying to show this slide to you all. Let me check for any thoughts, questions, or comments. Let's see what we got. Good people. Got you, brother Tim. Appreciate you, man. Yeah. Stay in there with me, y'all. Take good notes. Here we go. This is the etymology of the word prison. A prison is a place of confinement, involuntary constraint, or captivity, or a public building for confinement. We have been schooled. A prison is a place of confinement, involuntary constraint, or captivity, or a public building for confinement. We have been schooled. This is one reason why. Oh, let me check. Let me check this. This is this. I'm giving you an introduction of school to prison, new school to prison pipeline in a very simplistic sense. But on May the 4th, at LaWinnie Shea and Hazel Crest, it's going to get deeper. It's going to be very, very deep. I want to invite you out. The links are in the comment section. We have been schooled. If you're watching this, I want you to type that in the comment section of wherever you're watching this at, whether you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube. We have been schooled. We have been schooled. Yeah, we have been schooled. Let me see. Yeah, I want you to type this for me. Yeah, I want you to type the word. We have been schooled. This is one reason why we don't have questions. Because when we are conversing with people, when people are teaching us, we don't have questions because we've been schooled, because we hear what people say oftentimes on a intellectual space. I'll call it the realm of we hear in the knowledge realm. So the knowledge realm says this, that if you make a statement to me and I understand it, I comprehend it, I got it. Absolutely not. You don't get it till you apply it. You may have a understanding of it, but you don't have the understanding associated with a lived out experience. Trust me on this. One method that I use with my students, or that I have used with my students, and I use with students when I get an opportunity to teach them or or converse with them, is that I tell them, "What have you learned today?" So most times, if you ask any child, K through 12, what they learned today, they're going to parrot something to you based on what they heard throughout the day. They're going to try to be identical in what you said to them or what they heard someone else say, unless you guide them through that conversation and you say, "What's your takeaway from today?" Paraphrase something that I said. I'm not looking for you to say what I said exactly, but I want to know what you gathered from the day. But what I share with them is that you always got to remember that context influences text. Context, so this is a note for you as well. Context influences text. So the context in which you use a word influences what that word truly means. Then a life application of that word. So students believe that when they come to school, they learn something. In the context of school, they are. But in essence, you learn by doing. You learn by applying what you have been exposed to in a real world situation. If you don't, and if we don't, we will remain in prison. I want to give you this statement. This is right on key, or right on point. Somebody write this down. Make sure you cite me. If you cite me right, Mr. Case, the trainer. Don't make the statement your own, because it's not. Excuse me. Some of us visit the rec area, but never leave the institution. Some of us visit the recreational area, but we never leave the institution. If you think as an equivalent in a literal sense, when people go to the county jail or prison, you have an opportunity to enjoy, if you can, something called, or a concept called recreational time. Recreational time, you get the opportunity to do anything that you want to do within the confines of the institution. But eventually, you have to go back to the cell. I'll leave you with that and transition into the next phase of this very lightweight but heavy conversation. Let's see what the time is here. Trying to see what the time we got, because I'm trying to make sure that okay, we good. 33 minutes. Thank you, Brother Tim, for sharing. We have been school. Yes, sir. Let me see if there's any other. All right, no other comments. Let's rock. I'm gonna tell you this brief story because I'm trying to make sure that we get through this, but I'm not trying to rush. I'm working at a pace. I graduated from college in 2010, or it was 2009. I remember it vividly because the last presentation that I was a part of was called a senior project, which a senior project is, well, I'm gonna share this image with you. Let me read it to you real quick as a prelude to the story. Graduating from any man-made institution, whether pre-K, elementary, middle school, high school, or post-secondary education, is an achievement. but it is not fulfillment. Achievement can be awarded and fulfillment must be lived. Achievement can be awarded, but fulfillment, it must be lived. Fulfillment is from the inside out. And this is a story that I will link to that statement. Graduated from college in 2010, 2009, bachelor's degree, cum laude, in business administration with a concentration in small business management and entrepreneurship. The senior project, we completed it. We did an awesome job as a team. I bought my first suit back then, tie, everything. We killed it. I left out of that building. The first thought that came to my mind was, there has to be more to life than this. I experienced achievement, but I still hadn't experienced fulfillment. I experienced achievement, but I had yet to experience fulfillment. So though I had achieved something, I had experienced a sense of freedom or relief. There was still a journey ahead of me. How was that relative to the new school to prison pipeline? Well, oftentimes our kids associate their self-esteem with achieve. They associate their achievement with doing, and that's natural, but we cannot allow them to remain there because it's going to transition into something. It's going to transition into something that I'll touch on in more depth on the fourth, but it's going to transition to us wasting time. I could tell you that much. Without purpose, there's no direction. Without purpose, there is no direction. So you can have one student. I'm trying to wait to see. Pipeline patterns, remember, warning signs that a child may be conditioned for compliance instead of purpose. We're gonna get us on those warning signs. I'm gonna touch on those. I'm gonna touch on all the warning signs. I'm not gonna go into detail with all of them. I'm gonna go into detail with about two or three because I want to be considerate of time. Okay, here we go. Without purpose, there's no direction. You got one student that has good grades, but no career pathway. Then you have a student that has money, or let's just say young people. One young person got good grades, but doesn't necessarily have a career path, a smart person. But then you have also a person with money, but with no identity. They're in a box. What statement can I give you associated with that? We were not created to live inside of a box. We were not created to live inside of a box. Yet there has been a box made for us to fit inside of. We have not been created to live inside of a box. Yet there has been a box made for us to fit inside of. And I gave you those two examples. Good grades, no career path. I got money. They're still, both parties are still experiencing no fulfillment. Our kids are only going to experience fulfillment when they identify who they are and their purpose. That's going to lead them to the pathway. The educational component is not necessarily the lead or the pathway to fulfillment, though it's been prioritized as such. Again, I'm gonna give that's probably gonna be part two. I'm not gonna do that in part one of the new school to prison pipeline. Part two, I'll give you at least five five steps or five components that both of those young men needed in the box to identify who they are, their purpose, and walk in the appropriate career pathway in association with the components. Let's rock. Now we get a chance to kind of go into the nitty gritty. I'm gonna give it a little time. Yeah, this is a heavy statement. Very heavy. Without certain experiences during critical periods of development, perspectives develop abnormally. Without certain experiences during critical periods of development, perspectives develop abnormally. Critical periods, we're speaking about when our kids, well, really every period is a critical period, but more so if I gave an age range as far as that development period, I would definitely say right before high school. I would say kind of in that middle school range, maybe from sixth grade up to eighth grade. Those periods are tremendously critical. High school is tremendously critical as well. But I would say if someone asked me, well, Mr. Cage, what are critical periods that you think about for young people? I would say probably that grade, that grade 6 through 8, that 12, 11, 10, probably ages 9 through 12, I would say, based on my expertise and working with all the young people and the teachers as well. What we experience, this is a key moment. What we experience as normal is largely unnoticed until we experience a different normal. So what I experience as normal, it changes when I get into new environments or when I interact with new people. However, sometimes we are locked up and don't know it. And when that transpires, we don't get the opportunity to connect with this person or connect with that person or go into that environment because we place more homage on where we live than where we from. And that locks us up and we become restricted and tight. And it's not only what you know that connects you with different opportunities from a career and business standpoint, is who you know, is what you know in terms of your education, skill, talent, ability, and experience, but it's who you know as far as your network, your resources. Listen. Somebody type listen for me. School is not the same as education, though education can and does happen in the four walls of the institution, but they're not synonymous. And why does this matter? Many parents have been taught to believe that if a child is in school, that the child is automatically being educated. But school and education are not the same. School is a system. Education should be a process of developing the child's mind, perception, gifts, confidence, purpose, and ability to function in the real world, the world that is not confined by the four walls of the institution. When we confuse school with education, we risk allowing our children to survive in the system without truly becoming prepared for life, meaning they're getting what they're getting in school, and that's it. It's going to take more. Especially in today's economy, it's going to take a lot more than what's being offered in the traditional school sense. It always have, really, but we have become we become solely reliant on the school to educate our children. School focuses on compliance, rules, routine, testing, grades, behavior management, standardization, and I can't see this other one. Oh, fitting into a structure. My apologies. Education should develop critical thinking, self-awareness, confidence, problem solving, creativity, purpose, leadership, real-world skills, ownership, and vision. Critical thinking skills, self-awareness, confidence, problem solving, creativity, purpose, leadership, real-world skills, and ownership. Check it out. These this critical thinking skills, self-awareness, problem solving, creativity, and all the other ones can be developed in the school system. However, sometimes they are implied or implicit and not explicit. It takes, for lack of better words, good teachers to highlight what's being learned so that the kids can understand I'm learning more than I think I'm learning. Because in the school system, school to prison pipeline, restricted opportunities, post-secondary opportunities, and educational opportunities and career pathways, when you in that system, it's not being highlighted that you are learning creativity, leadership, confidence, problem solving, purpose. It's not being highlighted a lot of times. The end result is that students get bored because if the dots aren't being connected for them, then the engagement is not there. I'm learning math, reading, English, science, social studies, et cetera, et cetera. That's boring to me until you can connect the lesson within a lesson, which translates into a transferable skills. Critical thinking is a transferable skill. Self-awareness is a transferable skill. Confidence is a transferable skill, meaning that it does just not reside in an institution or in one setting, but that has to be highlighted. So keep in mind that parents have been taught to believe that if their child is in school, that person is automatically being educated. To a certain extent, he or she is. But is your child being educated to the capacity that they could be? No, probably not. Because school and education is not the same. Remember, education can take place in school, but it's not limited to the four walls of the institution. This is a new school to prison pipeline mentality because some of our kids don't like to do homework. You have to ask them why. I've asked them that question. This is a comparison of school and education. School says stay on pace with the system, follow directions, memorize information. Oh my God. Earn grades, fit in, prepare for approval. Education says we're going to develop a person. We're going to learn how to think. We're going to follow directions because we have to have a level of compliance to be able to provide a safe space for everybody to be educated and trained and empowered. But we're going to leave room for some creative thinking and critical thinking. We don't only want to memorize information, we want to apply the information that we memorize perfectly with comprehension into a real world situation. We want to build capacity and the education, other aspects allow us to discover who we are. A child can do well in school and still be unprepared for life. You take the graph that I showed you about the student that was in the box. He had good grades, but he didn't understand his career pathway. Because your career pathway should be or should identify something in you, who you are. I talk to students all the time. When they get ready, especially seniors, when they get ready to transition out of high school, I ask them, well, what you gonna do? And a person may say, well, I want to drive trucks. Okay, why? Because my uncle and my brother drive trucks. Well, have you ever sat in the truck with them and job shadow with them on a day-to-day basis to see if that's something that you really like? Or are you doing something just to make money? That's going to be achievement, but it's not going to be fulfillment. A child can struggle in school and still be full of genius, leadership, creativity, and purpose. But because that doesn't fit in the program, it can be difficult. The goal is not to reject learning. The goal is not to reject school. The goal is to stop reducing learning to a system, the institution of school, that may not see value or fully develop the child in the areas that he or she need to be developed in. Absolutely, absolutely. So we're gonna touch on some pipeline patterns, and then that's a wrap, man. Short and sweet. Let's do a sidebar real quick to see if anybody got any questions or any comments. Thank you all for sharing this. Extremely important. Yeah, extremely important. I'm gonna give y'all a second to throw your questions or comments. Remember, the title of this session is Pipeline Patterns. Warning signs that the child may be being conditioned to compliance instead of being conditioned to purpose. We're gonna finish this out strong. Also, keep in mind the invite to you is gonna be May the 4th from 7 to 9. Hazel Crest, again, 17100 Dixie Highway, Suite A, Lubwini Shea, Entrepreneurs United, Timothy and Anita Ellison, leaders, co-founders of Entrepreneurs United and Lubwini Shea, which is an event venue, birthday parties, whatever event that you desire to do. Hit them up. I'm gonna put his number too. I'm gonna put Tim's number in this. I'm gonna put his number in here real quick. It's gonna directly connect to him as far as from a business aspect. And then we'll finish out. Very important conversation because check it out. When we hear, uh, when we hear school to prison pipeline, we think about the old. Mm-mm, it's not what they told us. I'm putting this number in here for y'all, just in case y'all want to reach out to this young man and woman and talk with them about any events that you want to do. I'm just giving y'all time to have to see what your feedback and questions may be. Or even you want to share some of your experiences, that's cool too. Or questions or details. Hosting and event. All right, there you go. Closing it out, y'all. Thank y'all for staying. Most appreciated. Let's go. I like to see where we are on time. Okay, we cool on time. Pipeline patterns. Again, warning that a child may be conditioned for compliance instead of purpose. I'm gonna give a hot second as we finish this out. Thank y'all for staying and sharing. Please share this too. Remember, this don't only just impact, this impacts a lot of communities. My responsibility is to highlight it, disrupt it. As a result, we're gonna talk on May 4th. Make sure you're in the building, 7 to 9. Warning sign that the child may be being conditioned for compliance instead of purpose. My child is starting to believe that grades are the main measure of intelligence, which is very, very dangerous because it minimizes our kids' ability to take risks and they are scared to fail. My quote is failure is an experience. Failure is not an identity. Failure is an experience. Failure is not an identity. If failure be an experience, which it is, that means that I can learn from the experience. I can extract the lesson from the failure if I don't or don't allow myself to be identified by the failure. Let's see. That goes along with my child is becoming afraid to make mistakes. My child rarely talks about their gifts, ideas, and dreams. Oh, yeah, my child is being labeled more than developed because I was in gifted classes, honor roll, straight A's. I will be labeled as a good student. That can be destructive. That can be destructive on both ends, good and bad, because we're defining the person based on what they do. And we're measuring their goodness or intelligence on a scale that is limited. And it was created by humans. I won't use the word interchangeably. It was made by humans. Uh-oh, this is a good one. My child feels smart only when they are validated by system, which will result in them being a performer because I'm looking for validation. That if I'm performing, I'm looking for validation from people instead of finding that validation within. If I'm a young person and I transition to adulthood, I'm looking for validation from the system, which equates to looking for validation from the people. I will be limited in my expression, and it will result in being in Stucksville. Guaranteed. And let me see, my child is no longer being exposed to entrepreneurship, ownership, leadership, or real world possibility. And lastly, my child seems to believe that success only comes from following one narrow path. Children don't only need management, they need development, they need school success, but more importantly, they need a pathway to discover their purpose. This is Mr. Cage, training and development specialist for potential teaching kids to think before they do. The trainer. Thank you for being a part of this experience. I hope to see you in May. If you are in the Chicagoland area, keep in mind this will be May the 4th with Bleeding Shea. I've given you the address. I'll give it to you one more time. This is 17100 Dixie Highway, Suite A in Hazel Crest, Illinois. Mr. Tim and I also will be doing, I don't want to say a podcast. You could probably say a podcast. We'll be doing it Monday at 12 o'clock on Substack. Our title is Solopreneurship. Solo is a no-go. We're gonna be discussing that. I'm gonna be discussing it from an education standpoint. He's gonna be discussing it from an entrepreneur standpoint. We're gonna merge the two and have some conversations about some concepts and some ideologies, some mindsets, some practices we can help improve and learn how to work together as a unit. Also, too, check the links. Check the links in the comment section if you want to contribute to the cause. You know, for the work, this is not going to be just a one-time occasion. We're going to take this to different communities and do some presentation facilitations connected to this topic itself. But also, you can contribute to what's taking place May the 4th for the Bleeding Shea and Hazel Crest. Then you can look in the comment section and check me out as if you need a speaker or facilitator in the areas of life skills, career development, program development and design, business, entrepreneurship. If it fits, let's connect. Trying to see if anybody got any preguntas or questions. If not, this was this was an introduction to the new school to prison pipeline patterns, warning signs that your child may be being conditioned to compliance instead of being conditioned to purpose. This is Mr. Casey Trainer signing out. As always, be great at what you do, but aim to be greater in who you are.